Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum students. How are you? So today we have two new friends joining our class. This is Mr. Kamal from Saudi Arabia and this is Mr. Pony from Jaya Jasko because this is a study table for my daughter. All right. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the trends of religious pluralism, whereby I'm going to explain to you that there have been many interpretations to religious pluralism. So you're going to see these four trends. Only one of the trends is full-fledged religious pluralism, and we are going to look at it from the perspective of the historical development of religious pluralism from its very crude concept to a full-fledged philosophy of religious pluralism. While the rest three of the trends may, I would say, interpretations, and people assume that they are religious pluralism. Okay, maybe it is good for me to share the slides in order to help you to what you call that, to be able to link with my lecture. All right, so what are those four trends? Secular humanism, global theology, syncretism, and perennial philosophy. Yeah? Okay, we will start with secular humanism. Well, secular humanism, as I told you, is not a full-fledged pluralism, but it is a philosophy. Actually, it's more of a philosophy. But then religious pluralism. Um, how do I say? Religious pluralism would um, have secular humanism as the 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 the, the founding ground, say the ground for religious pluralism to be formulated and to be promoted in the current context. So without which, without secular humanism, then it is quite impossible for religious pluralism to be formulated and to be accepted as a philosophy or the philosophy of the day. Okay, so what is secular humanism? As you can see, it composed of two very big term, very big term. Both are jargon, secular and humanism. I will only zoom or highlight the components, the important components of secular and humanism. For an absolute or exact definition of secular and humanism, we will bring this in our consultation face-to-face meeting, inshallah. Okay, so what is so interesting about secular humanism is that it propagates an anthropocentric outlook of human understanding of the world. I would say a very humanistic perspective of the world. So the worldview of man towards the world, that everything that we regard for is limited to this world. Yeah, and this humanistic approach is actually or anthropocentric approach is not very new. It's not only emerged during modernity or postmodernity, or it comes with the Western scientific revolution or what, but actually this has been pioneered by earlier philosophers. So as you can see, Protagoras was known to be the person who developed the foundational idea of secular humanism, of anthropocentric approach towards understanding the world. The famous tagline of him, yeah, he said that man is the measure of everything. So whatever knowledge that we generate should be coming from the discovery of man. That man is liable for his interpretation of anything in this world. Yeah. And what has implicated uh, out of this perception that man is a measure of everything is in terms of human perceptions of the truth. Because as you know, men has have different ideas about things, have different interpretations. So you will find that if man is a measure of everything, then you'll find different men use different yardstick. Yeah. And if you can still remember the lecture that we had last time, we were talking about um, um, a sort of different idea or conception of certain principles that were very much shaped by someone's context or someone's background. Yeah, and that has led man to a very relativistic position, that his idea or perception towards something is very much driven or influenced by his background or by his context. So what I would like to say here is that anthropocentrism, the anthropocentric approach is very outstanding or very remarkable during secular humanism. And because of total reliance on human interpretation and perception, that you will find there's a strong sense of relativism, yeah, in the sense that truth is very much depending on one's perceptions and interpretations. So therefore, you find that humanistic philosopher during modernity as well as postmodernity develop lots of philosophy that represents this relativistic uh, line slanting, that the preference to uh, relativism, yeah, depending on how one's interpret certain concepts. So for example, you find logical positivism, the idea of progress, yeah, that man has to progress, and progression is our case. Yeah, every second of our life we are living in progression. Yeah, and we are very positive about it. There is no regression in human life. Everything is about progression. um, and also philosopher talks about pragmatism. Whatever you do, it has to be useful, it has to be practical. Yeah. And you find also this logical positivism and pragmatism of the Western philosophy influence and paved the way for a democracy. Yeah, because uh, man is given the mandate, the trust to cast his ideas and to make use of the idea that he thinks viable for him. Yeah. As a matter of fact, democracy is developed behind these conceptions or this philosophy of logical positivism and pragmatism, and then you find nationalism came together with it. You know, when you have democracy and the people were given the right, the mandate to choose the leaderships or their leaders, and they choose the leaders that according to them is practical enough, is useful enough, that can bring progress to the nation. Yeah, everybody has equal right to choose, yeah, to select, to elect the leadership, and that has brought sense of patriotism among the voters. And then together with democracy, you have these conceptions of nationalism. I hope you also know what democracy means. Democracy means people uh, governs, the governance of the people. People govern in contradiction to the system of governance before democracy, which was theocracy, that God governs. It's the governance of God. So democracy is the governance of people, the majority who choose for the leadership. And because this majority choose for the leadership, so they develop the strength of the feeling, affection for the country, and it is called nationalism. Um, and and that's why you find that in the 70s, for example, when democracy have been promoted as the best form of governance, yeah, many countries opted for democracy, and then you have this conception of nationalism developed together with democracy. Okay, what I'm trying to relate you this to is not so much on the political aspects of it. I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking about the role of men, and the mandates given to men in deciding what is good for them. And in this case, man has the uh, viable rights, ideas about how they want to be, how they want their life to be governed. Yeah. And of course, after not long after democracy, nationalism, starting from the 70s, people have already talked about globalization. I mean, scholars have been promoting the idea of globalization. Of course, at first it was introduced in the area of economy, studies of economy, talking about the business, trade all over the world. So it's a globalization of market. Yeah. But then slowly the term has been adopted in human sciences area, sociology, psychology, and now it has become a common term, acceptable term by everybody. Even though there's a lot of meaning behind this term actually, which includes, imperialism, westernization, that promotes all the values under this, imperial concept and Western concept. Okay, so just focus on the fact that I'm trying to highlight the aspect of humanistic approach, human worldview, human based worldview that has become the trademark of secular humanism. Now, um, as you are also aware, when we talk about about ism, it is a philosophy. It's not a simple word like humanity. Humanism is not simply humanity. Humanism is a philosophy of understanding human. Now, humanism is a philosophy of understanding. You can see here in the slides, cultural and ideological revivalism for secularism as the outcome of admiration for the Greco-Roman culture. Humanism tried to bring back the uh, the the the, uh, the 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 power of man. Yeah, the mandate of man that was once um, became the source of strength of the Greco-Roman culture. Long before the Greco-Roman civilization merged with Christianity. Yeah. So before the Greco-Roman merged with Christianity, the Western context were very much into philosophy. And all these philosophers that we have been bumping into, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato, and even before them, like Georgias, I mentioned his name, Anaximander, Anaximenes, Epicurus, all these Western philosophy who were either pure rationalists or pure empiricists. They define the Greco-Roman civilization, which was very human-oriented. No such thing as God have been uh, remarkable in that particular, civilization or context. So humanism is a philosophy that appreciates that context. Yeah, the context before Greco-Roman civilization turn into Christianity and become Greco-Roman Christianity. And, the religion behind this civilization was Catholicism. to be accurately speaking, or generally speaking, Christianity. And humanism has also became the way of thinking, the tools that was very much used to identify, to promote human values. Whatever you think that is good comes from your mind, from your logical reasoning, not from other sources. So man has the right ways of understanding or promoting good or bad. And not only that, humanism become a tools, instruments to know or to identify values, but humanism is also a philosophy that put man as the ultimate. Whatever things you are doing, whatever concepts or values that you are promoting, it has to put man as the ultimate, man as the ultimate objective. All right. And oh my goodness, so what do I do? All right. So some modern scholars rejected this concept of humanism, yeah, because they thought that this has implicated human conception of God. Yeah. So, for example, A.J. Ayer in the late 20th century say that humanism is a philosophy that desacralize man from the concept of God. So the term desacralizations mean omitting the concept of sacred from human understanding. So humanism to the extreme implicates the rejection on the idea of sacred. Why? Because everything now is all about man. Man has become the tools. Man has also become the ultimate objective. So whatever you want to derive, you have to derive it from man's. And whatever you want to achieve, the target should be man. No more God whatsoever. So you do things because of man, not because of God, for example. Yeah, you develop the civilization because you want to serve man, not because you want to serve God. You try to overcome certain restrictions in human life because you want to make the life of human easier, not because you say, for example, want to get the blessing of God. Yeah, so that basically is at the foundation of humanism. And secularism become part of humanism because secularism divides the world. I use the word in a very loose term. Yeah? Divides nature, divides the world into two. One is the sacred, one is the profane. One is the world that is not tangible, the world beyond our comprehension, which is metaphysical world, and the other one, which is profane, is the physical world, the world that we can see. Yeah. So according to this conception of secularism, man pertains to this profane world, to the physical world. And man can only comprehend what the things surrounding his physical world and not the metaphysical world. The metaphysical world is there, but it is isolated from human understanding knowledge. So therefore, just now, the term desacralization means that the world here is totally detached from the metaphysical world. The physical world is totally detached from the metaphysical world. Some modern philosophers say this metaphysical world is separated from us altogether. It has no link to us. So it is there for the sake of existence, and it has nothing to do with us, with the physical world. It was there, or it is there, but it has nothing to do with us. Some modern philosophers go to the extreme saying that, well, actually this metaphysical world does not exist at all. How does it exist? It exists in our mind, in human mind. Human mind creates it. And because of that, man started to use words that describe this metaphysical world, such as, the terms such as God, sacred, revelation, prophet, sacred text, so on and so forth. So humanism has two dimensions, and of course the extreme dimension is the second one, which altogether denied the existence of a metaphysical world, because it says that metaphysical world only exists in human mind. All right. Okay. Now, what is secular humanism from ethical philosophy, ethics? From the philosophy of ethics, from the definition of ethics. Yeah. So secular humanism is an ethical system. Why ethical system? Because it promotes value. Yeah. Value that advocate human values as the ultimate. Remember, because man is the ultimate now. So whatever values that pertain to man is the most important or the most outstanding values. Yes? So what are amongst the values regarded as profound and important? Those are tolerance, compassionate, respectfulness. And all these values have nothing to do with godly values or divinely values. And if you can still recall what I mentioned about democracy just now. Yeah. So democracy propagate tolerance, compassion, rights, freedom. All these values are totally human values, and it has nothing to do with religious value, divinely value, so on and so forth. So and humanism promote these two pillars, very important pillars. Yeah, first, human at the center, yeah, of the universe, and secondly, the idea of secularism, as I mentioned just now, the existence of two nature, yeah, the world or the profane, yeah, and the sacred or the metaphysical world. Philosophers have different ways of understanding the metaphysical world, whether the metaphysical world is there or the metaphysical world does not exist. It exists in human mind. Another term that explains this metaphysical world is sacred. So one of the Western philosopher who explain these conception of sacred and profane is Mircea Eliade. Maybe you want to go to the library and check this book. All right, so you'll see that many Western philosophers promoted this concept of secular humanism. I put here Auguste Comte. Yeah, Auguste Comte is the father of positivism. And he puts human spiritual fulfillment instead of God, instead of human needs for God. So human, for example, create religion because he has this spiritual fulfillment that he need uh, uh, to fulfill or to accomplish. So this longing for God is merely human thing. It's not top down, but it is from human. Yeah. And you'll see that actually these slides explain what has taken place in the United States of America, because as you know, that United States of America was the first country who promotes or propagate democracy. And as a matter of fact, the whole lots about the secular humanism uh, in the modern context taking place in America. Of course, before that you have Europe, yeah, that represents the whole dilemma, the whole struggle between religion and man, yeah, between religion and revelation. Sorry, between reason and religion. Between reason and religion, or between religion and man, between God and man. But of course, in the context of modern conception um, of humanism, secular humanism, and I think to look at this conception of secular humanism in historical chronology, we have also to relate to what has happened in the US, because most of the philosophers, the names as you can see in the slides here, were responsible person who introduced democracy as a system of governance, introduced the idea of human govern, man's govern instead of God governs. Yeah. Now, why is that so? It is interesting. That has to be the context of America, because America is a melting pot. It's a country whereby people come from different part of the world. So you find that it was very pluralistic society, even in the beginning of the 20th century, even 18th century. They have already, pluralistic society there. Just imagine, people came in flock to America, and they brought with them different religion, different language, different culture, different customs. Yeah, even the Christians were very diverse, because that Christianity had three denominations: the Orthodox Church, the Catholic Church, and the Protestant Church. And that the Protestant churches are also very diverse. So not only that, they have people of other religions apart from Christianity in America, but they have also different types of Muslims. Muslims from the Gulf country, Muslims from African country, Muslims from Asia, and they have Buddhists from different part of the world as well. So Buddhists from India, Buddhists from the Tibet, Buddhists from Japan, Buddhists from China, and where else? From Taiwan. These are different types of Buddhists. So in my reading, it was very difficult for America to take religion as the uniting force. I mean, if they want to take Christianity, for example, so which denomination should lead? And I invite you to read the history of Christianity, how the three denominations were struggling to come to an agreement, even to understand their religion, to understand significant doctrines in Christianity. So it was so very difficult to bring these people from different religions, different culture, different language to a meeting point. That the philosophers happen to be, leaders of America at that point of time, try to think how to bring these people together, and they found that democracy, people's govern is the best way to regulate the country, to govern the country. And they have to do away with this religion, because if they bring in religion in the system of governance, that would lead to a lot of chaos in the way they govern the country. And that's the story why America became a secular country. Yeah. But again, what I want to stress here is the role of human in this governance, in this good governance, that God has no role in this governance as tools and as objective. All right. So only there is some slight difference between what has been experienced in America and what has been experienced in Europe earlier than America, because European Enlightenment, marginalized religion altogether, have no regard for religion altogether. I mean, religion is put in certain contexts. They exist, but they does not it does not play significant role in the day-to-day administration. So it is there. Yeah. But it has nothing to do with governance. It has nothing to do with human projection of himself. It's only a personal thing. In America, As you can see inside American Enlightenment, they recognize the religion to be the practice of the people, except that this practice should be a private practice, personal practice, and they have no negative idea about religion. You can carry on to believe in whatever you want to believe. That's what you can see today. Yeah, you can have your own masjid, you can have your own synagogues, you can develop your own religious school. That is okay. Yeah, you want to believe in religion, it's up to you. Even you can believe in the religion of magic, witchcraft religion. I mean, it's your freedom, but make sure this does not interfere into your professional life, in the governance. Yeah, so this is the extent to which humanism or secular humanism was appreciated by um, this context, Western context, say European and America. So I'm referring to America because it was the later development of secular humanism. It is very much related to what we are experiencing today, especially when we talk about democracy. Yeah, people's governs. Okay, and of course, all these philosophers has put forward a lot of conception, philosophy to promote the conception or their ideas towards human governance. You know, for example, Benjamin Franklin talking about public religion, which is religion, not so much religion that you believe as a doctrine, believing in God, believing in the revelation, believing in the sacred text, so on and so forth. But it's more of believing in a religion that promotes loyalty, tolerance, you know, the values that human embrace. So this religion, public religion, is a religion of values that all men embrace. And Yon Jacques Rousseau. Yeah, um, this is a French philosopher. Uh, Also promoted more or less similar term that promotes the idea of, you know, public values. You know, he put forward the term civil religion, the religion of the civilian society. What is that religion? Religion that appreciates certain values. Yeah, certain values. So the society should subscribe to that values. That values become, is epitomized as a religion. Yeah. So public religion and civil religion emphasizes on moralities, collective values, and the execution of individual rights, societal role and obligation. Instead of, you know, you're talking about your spiritual fulfillment, your loyalty to the certain concept of religion, your affiliation to a certain system of belief, or the societal reference to certain system of belief. Yeah. Okay. So the what actually the, if I would say, the problem, the dilemma of this public religion and civic religion. Yeah. Modern scholars criticize that this public religion, civil religion promotes values that is devoid of spirituality, because God is not there as a standard of values, but human. So you find here faith devoid of belief in revelation and metaphysics. It's a form of deism whereby you believe in values as purely human values. God does not have the role in giving the standard to these values. So this is a form of deism. Yeah. Uh, that, well, maybe God is there, but he is, you know, separated from your day-to-day professional activities. He only lies in your or is only there in your spiritual activities. Yeah. Or like I said just now, that God actually, or that divinely values or revelation or the sacred, whatever names you call that pertain to this metaphysical world, she does not exist. They do not exist. They exist only in your mind. This is an extreme form of deism. Another philosopher that came later, which seems to appreciate religion. You see, if you look at the title of his book, the varieties of what they call it, the varieties of human experience. Yeah, William James talk about the varieties of human experience, and it seems as if he is appreciating human religiosity, but what he was actually promoted is a very pragmatic concept, practical concept of understanding human religiosity. Because modern scholars wanted to know why people from different parts of the world believe in religion. What makes them believe in religion, even though scientists or modern scholars have said that, this God only exists in your mind, or it exists there, but it does not really encroach into your professional life. But modern scientists such as William James wanted to know why people believe in this metaphysics. And then he come to a point, or he discovered that actually, our conception of God, our belief in God is merely experiential. It's not revelation. Okay. So your belief in God is a form of experience, and this experience varies. Yeah. So you have Muslims have different experience, Christians have different experience, so on and so forth. I hope you understand what I mean, because this all pertains to humanistic philosophy, humanism, as an ideology of understanding values, as an ideology of understanding man, as an ideology of understanding God, the sacred, metaphysics. And later on also, at the same time also, during the 20th century, you have John Dewey, who was very bold. Yeah, he promotes a common faith, but this faith is not faith like you used to understand it. This faith is faith without God. This faith is the faith that believe in humanistic values, in rationalism, and democracy is the foundation and the objective of the new religion. So democracy become a religion, because this religion promotes values, and this religion promotes rationalism, yeah, promotes people's choice, promotes man's as an instrument and as the ultimate, yeah. So you can see that how humanism takes place in this particular context, and people thought that philosophers believe that this is a practical way, this is a pragmatic way of understanding God, of understanding man, understanding God if there is a God, of understanding religion if there is, reason to justify for the existence of religions. Yeah. So, what is more important to the way religions are actually the same. And as a matter of fact, sometimes they become a hindrance to human, because, some religion would not recognize democracy. Yeah. Religion prone to what? To theocracy. The belief that God governs your values, God governs your understanding of the world. And, during the Greco-Roman Christian, God governs the country. God governs the state. Okay, so you can see the struggle. So now humanism has become a doctrine, and that humanism is a philosophy embraced by the United Nations, because this is how they define human rights, as purely from the human perspective, not from religious perspective. Yeah. And you know that this is not strange in the Western context. Many people challenge religion, challenge the rule of religion, challenge the conception of God, challenge the traditional role of religion. As you can see, J. Paul Williams said that traditional religion, sectarian in religion, as outdated, and even he dared to challenge the church to adopt democracy as religious teaching and values, to be part of the doctrine taught in Christianity, in the church. This is very interesting. And Harvey Cox, in his work titled The Secular City, this is also very remarkable about secular humanism. So Harvey Cox called for secularization. This is one of the process that is bringing lots of implications to human understanding or human worldview, because secularization simply uh, put a dividing line, a clear demarcation, separation from the world, from the profane to the sacred. So you see the way this process was trying to promote secularism, secularization as the freedom of man and language, mind and language from the domination of religion and metaphysics. Defatalization of history, like this is the idea of progress. They don't believe in the end of the world or the beginning of the world. They believe that the world will continue. Well, there was a beginning. Like we Muslims will believe that this world start when Prophet Adam alaihi salam was sent to the world, right? But there was also belief that the world was prepared before Prophet Adam alaihi salam. So there was like history before Prophet Adam came to this world. As a matter of fact, all this conversation of Prophet Adam and Allah and Malaika is part of the history, even though there is no exact date and time and space told to us in the Quran. But we believe in the here before, in the world at present, and the hereafter. But secularization says there's a beginning of this world and there is no end to it. The world will continue to progress, which means that there is no end of the day. And obviously, from the perspective of Christianity, this is rejected, because even Christianity believe in the here before, the world before this world. Because you read the Bible, you know that the Bible told the story of Prophet Adam alaihi salam and Eve or Hawa. Yeah. And the Christians also believe in the world beyond this world, the doomsday, the kingdom of God, when Jesus came and rescue the Christians, so on and so forth. But this secularization is a concept or the process that omits all these sacred words from human languages or from human understanding, all this metaphysics from human understanding, that the world is purely empirical, the world is purely rational, and the world is purely scientific from that perspective. All right, so now, with regard to, and he even say that the Bible agree on this, idea of the world as secular. There was a debate among the Christian theologians on this. For example, there was a verse in the Bible which says that give Jesus to Jesus, give Caesar to Caesar, give Jesus to Jesus. As if that, I mean, if you are a religious person, then you can practice your religion, but it's one segment of your life, and give Caesar to Caesar. When it comes to the world, uh, your professional thing has to be separated from your religion. Yeah, so And that's why, because your belief in God, your belief in the sacred is your personal affairs. Therefore, you are free to believe the way you want to believe, but you cannot force others to believe the way you want to believe. You see what I mean? Because this remain into one personal endeavor. So you believe the way you want to believe, that's it. But you do not force others to believe the way you want to believe. So if you're a Muslim, you believe in Allah, let be it. If the Christian believe in Trinity, let be it. If a witchcraft believe in magic, let be it. Yeah. So that's how democracy regards religion. As long as religion does not pervade into, professional life, it should be allowed to exist. All right. So I think that's with regard to secular humanism, and how the secular humanism is related to religious pluralism. As you can see that one of the component that is important in secular humanism is its conceptions towards human understanding of God, of divinely uh, values, of metaphysics. Because secular humanism say that whatever you believe, whatever faith that you are embracing, it is your personal. It has nothing to do with your professional life, with your day-to-day activity. So you are free to believe the way you want to believe, and bear in mind that the way you believe is the your perceptions. Is driven by your perceptions. Is driven by your context. It's your experience. So therefore, if this is your experience, you should not relate it to others, because other peoples may have their own different experience depending on their context. And they should not disturb the way you carry out your life. You know? So you see what I mean? And this is the foreground for religious pluralism, because the way religious pluralism perceive diversity is as such. What you believe is depending on your context, depending on your experience, depending on your perceptions, your understanding, maybe what your religion have told you. So you are correct from your perspective, and other people's belief is also correct from their own perspectives. Why? Because it's a mere perceptions, experience, understanding, and should not be imposed. So later on, when we talk about religious pluralism, you will see this. Now, without this secular humanism, it's quite difficult for religious pluralism to be activated, because religious pluralism requires someone to have certain perception and conception of the sacred of God. And we'll see how pluralists benefited from the secular humanism concept. Secular humanism concept encroaching into their philosophy of religion. As a matter of fact, religious pluralism is one of the philosophy and the philosophy of religion. The way they understand religion, the way they understand diversity of religions. All right, so I think that's about it. Thank you very much. Inshallah, we'll see again, and hopefully we can understand religious pluralism better, and we are able to help people to objectively analyze religious pluralism. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Kamel and Miss Pony, for joining our class. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.